Hello, this is Geometry, Notes 4-2, Angles of Triangles. At the top of the paper, please write down your name. In this section, we're going to be looking at two theorems. The first one is called the triangle angle sum theorem. You may just write down TAST as long as you've written triangle angle sum theorem once on your paper. It says that the sum of the measures of the angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. We're going to prove that by looking at the triangle on the right side of the paper. So given the picture, we know that angle 1's measure plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 add to 180 degrees, and that's by the supplement theorem. Also looking at the picture, we know that alternate interior angles are congruent when you have parallel lines. So these are parallel lines, so the measure of angle 5 equals the measure of angle 1, and the measure of angle 4 equals the measure of angle 3 by the alternate interior angle theorem. So write down alternate interior angle theorem. Then we're going to be using substitution. We're going to replace measure of angle 1 with the measure of angle 5, and in for measure of angle 3, replace it with the measure of angle 4. And that's substitution, so we have just proved TAST. A quick way to show this theorem also is if you look at this bottom angle, we know by alternate interior angles it also equals this angle up here. And if you take this bottom right angle and by alternate interior angle theorem, we can look at this, and again, this is another illustration that these three angles form 180 degrees. Let's look at example 1. Triangle ABC, all three angles add up to 180 degrees by TAST. So let's write down the equation. Measure of angle 1 plus 58 degrees plus 90 add up to 180. Simplifying, we have measure of angle 1 plus 148 degrees equals 180. Subtract 148 from both sides and you get measure of angle 1 is 32 degrees. Let's keep chasing angles here, so put in 32 degrees in your picture. And you find out by looking at the picture that angle 1 and 2 are vertical angles. So by the vertical angle theorem, or VAT, but you must write down vertical angle theorem, those two angles are congruent, therefore the measure of angle 2 is also 32 degrees. We'll put that in the picture. And now we have one more triangle to look at, triangle CED, and by using TAST, we know all three angles add to 180 degrees. So 32 plus 108 plus the measure of angle 3 add up to 180. So adding, we get 140 plus the measure of angle 3 equals 180. Subtract 140 from both sides, and you get the measure of angle 3 is 40 degrees. Example 2 is another angle chasing problem. Let's look at angle 1 first of all in triangle RWS. By TAST, we know all three angles in a triangle add to 180 degrees. So we have 90 degrees plus 60 degrees plus the measure of angle 1 add up to 180 degrees. Simplifying the left side, we get 150 degrees plus measure of angle 1, and that equals 180 degrees. Subtract 150 degrees from both sides, and you get the measure of angle 1 is 30 degrees. When you're doing angle chasing problems, it's helpful to actually write down the angle that you find in the picture. So now we can see that angle 2 and angle 1 form a right angle. So by the complement theorem, their measures add up to 90 degrees. So write down complement theorem for your justification, and we know the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3, which we know is 30 degrees, add to 90. Subtract 30 from both sides, and you get 60 degrees is the measure of angle 2. Complement theorem. Our second theorem for today's lesson is called exterior angle theorem. You'll be able to just write down EAT on your paper as long as you have written down exterior angle theorem once on your paper. And it says that the measure of an exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of the measures of the two remote interior angles. First of all, you have to understand what an exterior angle is. If you extend a side of the triangle, then this angle, looking at this picture, angle 4, is an exterior angle. The remote interior angles are the angles that do not touch or are not adjacent to angle 4. So angle 1 and angle 2 are the remote interior angles, whereas angle 3 is an interior angle, but it's not a remote interior angle because it's adjacent to angle 4. So given this picture, we know that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 add up to 180 degrees by tast. Those are three angles in a triangle, so that's just the triangle angle sum theorem. We also know by looking at the picture that the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4 add up to 180 degrees from the supplement theorem. They form a linear pair, so by the supplement theorem they add to 180 degrees. Since these both add up to or equal 180 degrees, we can set them equal to each other. Measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equals the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4. So we're using the transitive property, transitivity. I'm going to allow measure of angle 3 equals the measure of angle 3 by reflexive, and now that allows us to subtract the measure of angle 3 from both sides. Measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3, subtract minus the measure of angle 3 equals the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4 minus the measure of angle 3, and that is by the subtraction property of equality. Subtraction property of equality. Subtracting gives us the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equaling the measure of angle 4, and that's just by subtraction. Subtracting, and we've just proved EAT. Example 3, we need to find the measure of angle B. So let's find x. We'll use the exterior angle theorem, EAT, knowing that the exterior angle, 5x minus 35, equals the sum of the remote two interior angles. So 5x minus 35 equals 2x plus 58. We'll subtract 2x from both sides, and we'll add 35 to both sides. So on the left side we have 3x, on the right side we have 93. Divide both sides by 3 and we get x is 31. So the measure of angle B is 2x. 2 times 31 is our answer, which is 62 degrees. You may also use tast in the supplement theorem to find x if you don't want to use EAT or if you forget what EAT is. So we know that the sum of all of the angles in a triangle add to 180. So 2x plus 58 plus this unknown angle, let's just call it a question mark in this bottom right side of the triangle. And we also know by the supplement theorem that 5x minus 35 plus a question mark equals 180 degrees. Since they both equal 180 degrees, by using transitivity, we can set 2x plus 58 plus question mark equals to 5x minus 35. And what we have here is this same equation, getting rid of those question marks, the same equation as we used in EAT. So if you cannot remember EAT, you may use tast and supplement theorem. Using tast and supplement theorem is just a little longer.